Hey, Bassgeek here, and the shad and bluegill spawn are one of the best times to catch big feeding bass. But not if you're throwing the same baits that every other angler on the lake is throwing. Now, fishing geeks, I'm going to show you a little two-bait system that I've been using the past couple of years to take advantage of these feeding windows. I'll break down where I'm fishing them, when I pick each one up, how to fish them, and what gear I'm using to catch those bass. That's right, fishing geeks, let me tell you, if you're throwing the same exact thing, the same exact profile, like a chatterbait, a spinnerbait, a swim jig, any of that stuff that everybody's throwing during the shad spawn and the bluegill spawn, they have seen so many of them, you're probably not catching the biggest bass out there. This is a little 1-2 bait combo that I use in different situations. And the two baits, what makes them incredible is the differences in vibration and the differences in profile. And the first bait is a scrounger style bait, but it's by Pulse Fish Lures. And what I love about that bait is that you can fish it as fast as you want. So if the shad are on top and the bass are just chasing, you can burn that sucker and it's not going to blow out. Most, if not all, of those scrounger style lipped jig heads will blow out and just roll on you. What else I like about that is we're changing that up. That's something that not a lot of anglers are throwing for the shad spawn or the bluegill spawn. And the reason why it works there is because we can change the color of the trailer and we can change the profile. So we can give that bait a little bigger, rounder profile depending on the trailer we add. We can change the color. We can go to green pumpkin or whatever is going to match those bluegills in your neck of the woods. What I like about that is that's going to be a little more my open water, or fishing it above grass, or fishing it above any sort of cover or structure around in more open areas. The next bait is the side piece by Pulse Fish Lures. What I love about this bait is we give it a different profile and a different vibration, and that allows us to be able to fish it through cover, because basically it is a chatterbait spinnerbait hybrid. So it's great around grass, but to me, this bait was built for wood. And that allows me, in the lakes that I fish, to be able to change the color, whether I'm throwing some sort of white or some sort of gill pattern, but I can hit the wood, I can deflect this bait off the cover, and it's not gonna hang up like a chatterbait or bladed jig. The thing about a chatterbait or a bladed jig is that they love wood, and I say this all the time. In the wrong way, right? Because they love to get hung in the wood. Well, this bait, you can fish it more like a spinnerbait, but it's got the vibration of a chatterbait. And that is, again, a different vibration and a different profile than those standard spinnerbaits, swim jigs, chatterbaits, etc. swim jigs that everybody else is throwing. So what sets these baits apart from every other bait that everybody is throwing when it comes to the shad and bluegill spawn? What's vibration and profile. So the great thing about this bait is the vibration. The great thing about the Pulse jig is that it's not just any other scrounger jig. I know you geeks are going to look at this, some of you, and you're going to think, well, it's just a scrounger, but that's not true. These things have been extremely tuned so that you can fish them as fast as you want and they won't blow out. And there's not another scrounger style head on the market that can claim that. That's why I like these. So one of the reasons why is because you've got this nice narrow head. It's weighted more on the bottom. You've got a great clear lip that's up here. So you're going to get this really unusual wobble, which when teamed up with the X-Zone Whiplash Shad, this is the 6-inch, and it is the Pro Blue Red Pearl that I like to put on the back of here. Now you can go with a white if you're around the shad spawn, or you can go with any sort of green or watermelon. I ran off and left those today. So if you're fishing around the gill spawn, any which way, this right here will get you bit. It's going to draw them because of that vibration, and you can fish it as slow or fast as you want. Next up from Pulse also, this is the side piece. Now, what's great about this design is there's others of these on the market, but the thing about it is this is more of your spinnerbait style head. So yeah, it's good to come through some grass, but it's also great for people like me who like to throw a chatterbait, but a chatterbait loves wood and in all the wrong ways. This, on the other hand, does not. This comes across wood extremely well. So if you've got some bluegill up there, you can actually use this during the bluegill spawn. If they're up around wood or they're up around some sort of cover, this is going to come through it. Now, if you've got shad and the shad are up around some cover, some standing timber, or like I said, some sort of grass, this is going to come through it. So during the shad spawn, that's what I'm going to throw right there. Now, this bait I've actually got teamed with the X-Zone Whiplash shad. Again, you can put a white on there, a lot of different colors. I'd go with something like that. I'm going with a little bit more of a natural color because the lakes I fish are a little clear. That's the smelt color right there, and that's the 5-inch. I think the 5-inch works perfectly on this bait. Now, one of the things that I love, because I love to throw a spinnerbait when the gills are spawning, but this little bait gives me that chatterbait vibration, but it also comes with the gold blade, which is something that is huge for me, whether it's a buzz bait or whether it's a spinnerbait or whether it's a side piece when I'm throwing up for those bass that are feeding on those gills. Love that gold. Now I've got this teamed up with a stinger from Demiki. This is the 4.5-inch. We put a little bit of chartreuse on the tail to mimic those bluegill out there swimming around, and this is I believe watermelon magic. Now, for you geeks that don't know, like I said, this has the vibration of a chatterbait, and like I said, it's got the arm, the head, and this very unique blade that gives it a chatterbait vibration in a spinnerbait body. So it's like a hybrid, and that is why I love this, because they're not seeing this a lot in a lot of the places I fish. So let's talk about sizes. The Pulse jig comes in a ton of different sizes and a ton of different colors too. So this is the 1/4 ounce. I get it all the way down to an 1/8 ounce. My two favorite sizes, at least this time of year, it's got to be the 5/8 ounce and the 1/2. All right, geeks, if you're thinking about making the change over to lithium, let me tell you, nobody makes it easier than Ionic batteries. They have a whole boat kit that you can buy. So it is literally everything you need. And if you have any other questions, I'm telling you, the support is incredible. So make sure you call them, because they can help you with your specific boat setup. And to beat all, I've got a 10% discount on you. One of the best discounts that they give out. So make sure you go check out Ionic Lithium batteries on lithiumhub.com. Use that discount code to save yourself some money. Trust me, we've run these now for 3 years that we've had the old Green Goblin, and they have not gave us the first problem. Rain, sleet, snow, or shine, we have had a good time. Now, believe it or not, I fished this on the same exact type of setup. I've got 2 of them. Let me show you what that is. The setup that I'm using for both of these baits is this. This is the Douglas ERA or ERA rod. This is, and I love it, it is a $99 rod, and it is built extremely well. So you geeks that like bang for the buck, this rod is that. It is a medium heavy fast action. It is their chatterbait spinnerbait rod, but it is a 7'1", and this rod is incredible. You've seen me use it a ton. You've seen me catch some fish on it in some past videos. Now I've got that teamed with a Lew's Custom Pro. It is 6-8 to 1. And what that allows me to do with either one of these baits is to burn it or to slow roll it. Such a good speed. Now, I team it up and I'll move the line around depending on how deep I'm fishing or around what type of cover I'm fishing. I've got this with K9's Pro 100. That's their 100% fluorocarbon, and that is anywhere from 10, to get it down deeper, to 15-pound test. So let's talk about retrieves. Let's talk about the Pulse jig. Now, like I said earlier, the great thing about the Pulse jig, you can burn that thing. And sometimes those bass are going to be chasing those shad. They're going to want it burnt. Sometimes they're going to want it below those shad. So those shad are going to be stacked on the bank early in the morning, and they're going to kind of cut off. Kind of think about it like a second shoreline. So you throw that bait up there, let it sink to the bottom, and then just start slow rolling that. And as it comes out of those shad near the bottom, just like you'd fish a swim bait, those bass are going to be sitting there, whether they're setting off a drop off or whether they're pushing those shad against the bank, and they're going to clock it because it's going to call them to it. And that's what's great about the Pulse jig. You can fish it multiple ways. Same sort of thing goes when we talk about the gill spawn. So if the bluegills are up there spawning, how many times have you seen them splash while they're chasing off or something's chasing them? You can throw that up there, you can reel it a couple times and kill it. Reel it a couple times and kill it. Normally, when you bring that off that bluegill bed, and I'll throw it right on top of that gill bed, you bring that off that bluegill bed, I'm going to stop it. You'll see a little drop off, or you'll just bring it on out, and those big bass are going to make an easy meal out of that little bait. So now let's talk about the side piece retrieve. Now, you don't know that I'm going to use this thing to beat and bang into cover. That's what I'm going to do with it. I'm going to really get those bass's attention. I'm going to target the areas where the shad are spawning that are going to be harder to get to for most other anglers, and definitely not going to be able to throw a chatterbait or bladed jig in there, because that's going to be a place where those bass haven't seen that bait probably the whole time the shad spawn or the bluegill spawn has gone on. So most of the time what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw it up there shallow around those shad or around those bluegill beds, and I'm going to slow roll it, or at least crank it enough to where it stays up there, but I'm just going to reel it back. Every once in a while I might stop it, pop it, just to give it that stop, pop, and get that sound and vibration change. But if there's anything I can hit with it, I am absolutely bumping into it and getting any kind of deflection that I can get out of that bait. So when it comes to hook set, it's really the same on both of these. I'm going to pretty much 45. Now, if you're in a cover, you may want to go a little closer to a straight up type of jig hook set. They've got good hooks, they've got strong hooks. Set the hook, get them away from the cover if you're fishing around it, or if you're fishing around those shad with that Pulse jig, just set the hook and get them to the boat. Again, single hook, as long as you keep them from jumping, reel down and get that rod tip down, fill their mouths full of water, boat hop them, net them, whatever you want to do. Now, geeks, we've got a ton of videos on the Pulse jig, but we've got one really good in-depth video on the side piece, and it's a video that you should go check out right here. Otherwise, questions and comments in the comment section below. Like it if you like it. Don't forget to subscribe. Make sure you ring that bell. Be part of the 100% Watch Squad. Geeks, YouTube is killing long forms. We really need you. You geeks rock.